come once again to discuss things.
Broly was a motherfucker. Stronger than that robot trucker.
How the Dragon Ball Super
Broly's
movie is gonna
enemies are
address some of the stuff that happens at the end of the Tournament of Power. Like, is Goku still gonna have Ultra Instinct, or I don't know. It's kind of a mess right now. And Dragon Ball Super's ending was very much not a series as the way all the other shows had.
when Broly done.
Well, you ready to go ahead and get into this then?
Yep.
Alright. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen as we continue Comedy Month. I am Sid Part 2, aka Ian Harrington. Joining me today is the one and only Steve Baxey.
Hello.
Steve is here to fill in for Manos, who couldn't make it, and I wanted Steve here anyway, so we could talk about a fantastic little fan project that's been going for a considerable length of time, and that is Team 4 Star's Dragon Ball Z Abridged. And I wanted to isolate this with one topic in Comedy Month and talk about one of the movies, and I had a hard time deciding between Revenge of Cooler Cooler's Revengeance, or whatever the second Cooler movie is, and Broly. But I ended up going with Broly because I thought it stood on its own just a little bit better.
The Cooler one does require some setup and has a lot more of like a continuity with the in-jokes than Broly does. But to be fair, Broly has a lot of it by the end.
Yeah, certainly. And so I wanted to talk about Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but there's like Dragon Ball Z Abridged has become, in my mind, just as good a substitute for watching the original Japanese dub than anything else.
It's kind of perfect. Like,
yeah.
you can get a legitimate sense of everything in the universe just by watching the show.
And what I find really funny is because they're not constrained by, time requirements and commercial breaks and obviously censorship, they can get away with things and make things more dynamic, which is really great to see. And so I think you get a little bit of all of that in the movie of Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. You get the importance to the fan community that Dragon Ball Z Abridged makes, the ways in which they update and streamline and make Dragon Ball Z work better, and the just ridiculous comedy and running jokes that they do. So it's a nice little ball of awesome.
It also takes on the most contentious debate of all time when it comes to Dragon Ball fandom. Broly, cool or stupid?
Both.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So, like, you and I are both big Vegeta fans, and I think we've talked about Broly a little bit in the past, but never on recording. And, like, we've talked about this, though, with Vegeta, in that he is a really interesting character who the writers just never really give his chance, and until Resurrection F, Broly was kind of the best representation of Vegeta deserved this to be like his movie, and it just went to Goku because Goku. And at least that's how I feel, wherein, everything about this movie should be about Vegeta, and he should be the main character in this movie, and he's just not, and it's really stupid that he's not.
No, I agree with you absolutely. I fucking love that the Abridged movie opens with the invasion from Broly's dad's name, whose name Paragus. And then Vegeta's like, "Do you know whose planet this is?" And they're like, "Oh, Hail King Vegeta."
He's like, "Good."
He's like, "Well, good.
Glad we sorted that out." Yeah, and I don't want to just devolve into quotation, but it's so damn tempting with Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
And I want to say I wanted to do that partly because I think it segues into the point of this movie really well. Because after that, they keep calling him King Vegeta, and he says he never realized he could want something so much. And you and I had this conversation before. We're like, Vegeta's got a very particular complex where he refuses to just call himself the King of the Saiyans.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie has that, like, makes fun of that in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, the thing that impresses me so much about Dragon Ball Z Abridged is they make everything funny while staying so true to who these characters are that it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's going on here. And it's such a more streamlined and well processed, at least for American audiences. I think you can maybe make an argument that some of the pacing of Dragon Ball Z makes more sense given that it's a product of another culture. But regardless of all that, the way in which they streamline everything and do characterization is really brilliant. And so with all the really, really witty comedy writing, it's crazy because you can go to any Team 4-Star video or the Broly episode that we're talking about now and look through the comment section, and all the top voted comments are just quotes from the episode.
Yeah.
Every single time, that's all it is. No one's got any insight. It's just the comedy is written so damn perfectly. It's all this really solid dialogue-based humor that just totally works and fits the situation, or they morph the situation to work perfectly, and it's fucking incredible to watch.
And the Broly movie is partly a good pick too, because I think it showcases how well edited it is and how Team 4-Star's gotten a lot better at this over time.
Mm-hmm.
When Goku instant transmissions in, there's a whole like 15 minutes of the movie which is Goku, Vegeta, and everyone like staying the night on the planet, Broly attacking him in the middle of the night and transforming into his second form, and then them waking up the next morning and wanting to leave, that they just cut.
Yep.
And it doesn't look like they missed a single beat.
No, it's perfect. It's they take out it is abridged, right? They take out the stuff that no one gives a fuck about. It's called the movie's
they do
called,
it in a way that Dragon Ball Z Kai doesn't, because Kai is just stupid and interrupts the momentum of everything scene by scene. This is like actual context-based stuff.
Yeah. Like, the movie is fucking called Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. They established that the Legendary Super Saiyan destroys the South Galaxy. They introduce Broly by fucking name in Act 1. You know he's gonna be the villain. We don't need a mystery. If you wanted a mystery, you should have called the movie The Legendary Super Saiyan. And not Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan. Because now we know who the fucking Legendary Super Saiyan is. So they just skip all that. They get rid of all the mystery. They make Vegeta just a little shit, which is great. I love just the way he acts like such a fucking brat in this movie. And I don't want to devolve into quotes.
I have 6 towers, like a peasant.
God damn it, Steve. No quotes. No quotes. It's so good though. Yeah, so like he's such a brat, and that creates the perfect excuse for why he's leaving, and everyone else shows up, and there's just stupid dialogue that just fills time, but creates a really funny dynamic, and then there's the callback dialogue, and that part I will quote because that is so brilliant that if you didn't know any better, you'd feel like they'd legitimately tried to set this up for years. And I really question one thing about Dragon Ball Z Abridged, which is they've obviously had, like, they started this in what, 2007, 2008?
Probably,
Yeah.
if not earlier.
I mean, there's a MySpace joke in the first episode, so it's closer to that. I'd say it's closer to 2007, if anything. But anyway, they've had all the content. They've known that they're planning to do the whole thing for years now. So they've had so much time to refine and come up with jokes and decide what they're going to be doing down the road that I really question how much of the series is already written. And, like, not necessarily set in stone, but they know the jokes they're going to use, and they just have had literally years to craft and perfect the jokes. And so when you have Paragus getting into the whole thing and Vegeta having his little freak out moment over Broly being so cool but so dumb, and Paragus goes, "You see, you're not dealing with the average Saiyan warrior anymore." That is such a great fucking callback to what was a legitimately annoying reoccurring thing in the actual dub of the Namek arc that they made fun of when they did the Namek Frieza stuff with Vegeta. And now they're calling it back. And Vegeta looks so defeated. And it's to go back to the point of this being very, very character-driven, character-focused, it's kind of brilliant because Broly, in a way that I'm not sure the writers were really aware of, represents what Vegeta wanted to be in the Frieza Namek stuff, and what he has evolved from as a character.
Which is something the movie itself is never aware of, but the Abridged totally is, because they anchor all of that in the Broly debate, and they make Broly's character just an annoying fan who keeps wanting power levels.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of brilliant. I do kind of wish they did a little bit more with Broly in that state, if only because I think that commentary could have gotten a little bit further.
Yeah. I think more particularly about, like, when he blows up the slave people's planet, and just for fun, how he is just this ruthless warrior that, like, that's just on a blood rage. That's kind of like Broly's thing, right? He's just on a blood rage path. He gets, battle madness, as it were. And that's in both the original movie and in this, obviously. And so it's really, really interesting, because that's who Vegeta wanted to be. That was Vegeta's wet dream of himself, as being this unstoppable warrior that could defeat Frieza and had just unlimited power. That's kind of what he always wanted to be. And then for him to be confronted by that, to be confronted with the thing he always wanted, and seeing how destructive and how scary and mindless that is, and how he's evolved from wanting that, is really, really interesting. And I quite liked it.
Yeah, I thought I liked that a lot. The Abridged movie focuses a lot more on Vegeta than the regular movie does, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little bit with Bulma early on, which I feel like the relationship he has with Bulma in the Abridged show does a lot more work than Z ever did, and it's only ever really rivaled by Super at this point, where Super, like, he's actually a dad.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff's really good. The other big thing I really like about this movie, the Abridged version, is none of the Dragon Ball movies make any sort of sense within the continuity of the show at all. We just kind of have to pretend they do and squeeze them in where they can. And that's what they do here. But
this one fits the
following
most.
The show along, they edit the movie so that feasibly these things could be here.
Yeah, there's very few that it doesn't work with. Like Lord Slug, there's really nothing you can do about.
Yeah.
Goku's supposed to be dead at that point.
Yeah.
Like, Lord Slug you can't really do anything about. And there are, like, Tree of Might you can't do anything about. It's so funny to get callbacks to that shit. Like, Turtles? That guy with the tree? Like, that was really good. So there's things you just can't do anything about. But then, like, this one, it fits so naturally, particularly with Goku doing his, like, little investigating stuff. Because
his scene with Cell,
yeah, that was really good. And then, like, the scene with Mercenary Tao, that's perfect, because that's from that little filler mini arc in between the Cell games and everything, where Mercenary Tao shows up for like 2 episodes for some godforsaken reason. And it makes no sense, and it's stupid, and they're just clearly padding out episodes, but there is obviously a actual break between, Cell announcing the Cell games and the Cell games starting up. And so they use that time to throw fucking Broly in the mix, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
It so fits naturally, and it's great. Like, I love the beginning of it. It's like, what about Cell? Fuck it. I got a new planet. Damn. And, like,
they're really consistent in how they write these characters, and like you said, because they've had a lot of time, they can work in stuff continuity-wise that makes it seem more natural. Like in the opening after the South Galaxy gets blown up, King Kai says it might have been Beerus.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's a nice touch, and something that you kind of wish you could go back and rewrite Dragon Ball Z to include.
Yeah, because obviously Toriyama kind of just made it up all as he was going.
Yeah.
And that both works brilliantly and is just awful at different times.
Yeah.
To see the really awful version of that read Spawn, but anyway, no, there's you're definitely right. There is something that's going for that, and it's all kind of working together. One thing that we haven't mentioned yet that I do want to make sure we bring up is the momentum that exists behind fan projects can be really interesting, because initially it's usually just a couple guys in their backyard or, internet friends over Skype kind of thing. But then as these projects get popular, more and more people get involved and they get bigger and bigger, and usually that can be a detriment. That can really hurt some fan projects, and it like, I'm sure the people following along, because I was definitely wrapped up in that with one thing, the people following along can really enjoy it, but to outside people it can feel kind of, tacked on or not really well thought out. Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I think, has the best case of the momentum of the fan base getting behind it and making the thing better, because there are 2 sections in here that are original animation created for this Abridged movie. And they're short and really basic. One of them's Korin and Yajirobe's like hugging at their reception. That was all originally animated for this. And I didn't realize that the first time I watched it. The only reason I picked up on that was because I decided for this review to watch the original film and then this. And that's not in the movie. And I'm pretty sure that's never happened in any other place in Dragon Ball Z.
Nope.
So it's original animation created for this, and then there's the end when they're all leaving New Vegeta, and they're all in the Capsule Corp pod together with the slave race. That's really fucking cool that they got people that can do that shit now. And they've done that in a lot of the other animated movies, I know.
Yeah, they've done that a few times now, which is really, really cool, and something they could have done earlier. And it just creates a fun new dynamic with the way this is supposed to work. I mean, I know some of them, some of the Team 4-Star, while they're on Twitter, they talk about how people, particularly in reference to Broly, were really pushing for, like, when's it coming out, and, like, just like the typical internet personality of, like, I want this literally the second after the last video ends, there should be a new video up. But luckily, there's a decent enough crowd that doesn't do that, and so, like, these little niche characterizations that they have start to really take off. The really popular joke in Dragon Ball fandom of Piccolo being Gohan's actual dad, they play up to, like, 11, particularly in this movie, where, like, Piccolo in that movie comes out of fucking nowhere, and in this movie, it's a joke, so he comes out of nowhere because he's just stalking his child.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant, and it's really funny. Then there's...
He's like, do you need some juice? Did you get into that school you wanted?
Yeah, that's really good. Then there's jokes that are just, like, really deep pulls that, I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't even get if not for the fact that I follow people who are more into the fandom than I am. So one of the deep pulls is when they talk about Bardock. And Vegeta says, the scientist, the very same. Because that's like a line that was just added in one of the original English dubs. That Bardock, like, Goku, your father wasn't much of a warrior, but he was a brilliant scientist.
Yep.
Like, that just came the fuck out of nowhere. And just to throw it in here is like a really deep pull that most people will not get. But it's really funny if you get it. And so, like, that the fact that he can get away with really, really quick fastball jokes like that is very funny.
Yeah, the references are almost always great, and it's great how consistent those references are, despite all of the other stuff in the series being very difficult to, like, tie together. Because they've already done the Bardock movie. They've done both Bardock movies.
Oh god. Can we just not pretend that can we just pretend that doesn't exist, please?
No, we can't, because the abridged one is fucking hysterical. I will suffer through episode of Bardock as many times as it takes to watch that movie again.
Okay, fair enough.
But, like, that joke doesn't gel with the fact that they've done that already, but it's still really funny.
Mm-hmm. No, it totally does. It's poking fun at the dub of it. And, like, they've done stuff like that before. I can't remember what episode it is, but I know there's an episode where Krillin says, I don't like talking to Korin. Last time I was there, I forgot his name, and I just called him Mr. Pussy Whiskers or something. And, like, that was in one of the multiple early English dubs, that was the name that they gave Korin for some goddamn reason. is some fucking absolutely ridiculous. And so it's just these really, really deep pulls that's like, it's almost like fans showing off. Like, yeah, I know my shit, bitch. What? And that, I don't know. Some people get really turned off by that. I think it really works. And if the other jokes didn't work as well, I could see getting annoyed by it. But when you got just such fucking great dialogue in here, it's just amazing. There's also a reference to one of the original Dragon Ball intro songs where the lyrics go, Goku, he's gonna show you. And like it cuts to Goku and Chi-Chi, and she's like, Goku, I'm gonna show you. She does it with the exact same cadence and everything. It's brilliant. Stuff like that is really, really funny.
Yeah, I agree. There's every time you watch one of these movies, there's always just more and more to pull out. You can literally watch Dragon Ball Abridged as a series. It basically operates as one.
Yeah, and they definitely get better and better as they go. So it's kind of harder to watch the early stuff, but they've spent so long on it that
they've remastered some of the old stuff.
Oh,
so
really?
It's not
I didn't know that.
cringy.
I did not know that they did that.
Little Karibo did it at one point with Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, and then I think Team 4-Star did. They didn't do it for all of it. But there's like a couple episodes that are on their website that are like better quality than the ones that are on YouTube.
I didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds really interesting. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. So those are fun. They've gone through and like tried to stylize all their thumbnails to be a lot more consistent now too. So like they've gone back and tried to make everything seem more together than it was before, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, you can tell that these are guys who are learning and kind of picking this stuff up on the fly. And I think that's honestly one of the best ways to create some really great work is when you're teaching it to yourself and you've got just a body to go to, you know? Because I'd seen other abridged versions of Dragon Ball and like they got a laugh out of me, but they weren't really like smart. Like I just remember Goten and Trunks about to fight Majin Buu and like Trunks goes, go Goten, get the crystal meth. And like that's pretty funny to just hear, and it's like all lol randoms, but it's not really well thought out. It's just kind of something that could be said real quick to match the lip flaps. These guys go in, they do so much work that you don't even know. Like the editing the lip flaps, editing the motion of the eyes to create different expressions. It's so damn detailed. It's really, really cool.
Well, and it helps because a lot of the other Dragon Ball Abridged stuff online is just like random one-shots of stuff here and there, which is fun because Dragon Ball Abridged might be ending after they finish up Cell Saga. They're not sure if they're going to go on to Majin Buu, which is terrible. I know, it's like the worst thing ever. But a lot of people want to make fun of Dragon Ball Z when you get specifically to stuff like the Majin Buu saga. And granted, that would be fun. And Team 4-Star has done that sometimes where, like, every now and then they'll upload a clip from Dragon Ball Super that they've dubbed over, and that's always really funny. But it'll never be as good as starting from the beginning and building your continuity of in-jokes to make this stuff even funnier.
Yep.
Like, assuming they do get to the Majin Buu stuff, the Goku versus Vegeta fight in that saga will never be as funny as it's going to be in this context if they just did it randomly.
Yeah. Like, I would say that if they don't want to do, like, the long trek of Majin Buu, there's a lot that you can abridge the fuck out of there. There's a lot of filler in Majin Buu, but at the same time...
you could quit all of the high school Gohan stuff, truncate almost everything leading up to the tournament, truncate the tournament. Like, it's doable, but I get you. Yeah,
like, they can cut a lot more out of it, but I will be sympathetic. They don't make money off of this. This is a fan-based project, and they've never made a profit off of it. And even if you truncate a lot of it, it's still going to be at least another 2 to 3 years of their lives. And these guys are getting professional work, doing actual dubs. They've created a studio now.
Most of the revenue they get comes from their gaming channel, of all things. So.
Yeah, and that's understandable. I totally get why someone cannot commit to a lifelong fan project or like a 2-decade-long fan project. But goddamn, if they don't do Majin Buu, I'm still going to be disappointed. Just as a fan of the thing that came in so late, I'll be disappointed, I'll admit. But what can you do?
No, I agree. I definitely want them to go on to do Majin Buu, but we'll see. The episode 60 is supposed to be like at least an hour and a half long.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, but they're having trouble getting it together for some reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely disappointing that they take so long to get out. Like it makes it hard to stay in a groove, because you know how it is with YouTube stuff. You get into a groove, into a mood with it, and you want to watch it then. And then when it takes 3 to 6 months for another episode to come out, it's like, oh, not really in the mood to really watch this right now. So
Yeah.
But at the same time, the quality is just undeniable. It's been over a year since they posted the Broly movie here, which we should probably get back to talking about a little bit more before we wrap up. It's been over a year, and this is still just as funny. This is It's very rare to find comedy that isn't very timely. Whereas I feel like this is, as long as you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, this will be just as funny now as it will be 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing about the references and stuff that they pull here that requires you to listen to it in a specific point in watching the show or in a specific point in time. It's literally just, it's really funny jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But they're really clever and they're really true to the characters. All of this stuff could feasibly be things Toriyama himself wrote.
Yeah, I agree.
If he wanted to make Dragon Ball a comedy manga, he could have just written this show.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, so let's wrap up and go for favorite line or quote from the thing, and then we'll go on to rating. Oh God, it's so hard, but I really, really like this one particular moment that kind of just pokes fun at the nature of Dragon Ball Z fights, and that is when Goku, Trunks, and Gohan first start fighting Broly, and Goku says, "Hey Broly, I don't want to tell you how to be the legendary Super Saiyan or anything, but you're not supposed to start off all at once. You're supposed to start small and build up." Broly is starting small. Oh, good for you. That's a really good one. There's so many layers to that joke about the way in which, like, fights just drag in Dragon Ball Z, and for Broly to be just kicking the shit out of them all right away is really, really funny. And he's not even trying, apparently. That Broly, say my name, is a really cool way to end that fight.
That is a really badass way to end that fight.
Alright, how about you, Steve? What's one of your favorite quotes from this?
Outside of Vegeta just constantly shouting, "Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool," over and over again, I think the recurring Princess Trunks thing is really funny. Because she's got really long hair now, and Broly just walks up to him and he's like, "Your hair looks like lavender and smells like strawberries." Like, what?
It's really good stuff.
Vegeta's like, "My mind decree, you will now only refer to him as Princess Trunks."
All hail Princess Trunks! Oh, that's too good.
And then when Goku first shows up with Broly, and Broly's like, he wants to take his own with really strong power level, he's like, "That's a good point. What's your name?" "Broly." "Broly, that's a good point. Good point, Broly."
Yeah, it's so innocently fun. I love it. Okay. Well, I don't know what we'll be reviewing next time. Steve, thanks, though, for joining. We need to do a rating real quick. I mean, I honestly don't have any complaints about this. It's doing everything that it wants to be doing, and it's doing it all so damn well. Someone made a video essay at one point that claimed Team 4-Star killed Abridging because they got too good at it. And no one else can match that level of quality. And I kind of agree. Like, they killed it right as it was beginning to become a thing. And that's just, yeah, it's kind of true. So, like, they're just the kings of the abridged comedy take, and they do a really good job of it. So I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 knives with which to better stab this baby. Daggers, sorry, daggers.
I'm gonna give this 5 out of 5 sadomasochistic slave people.
You know, that reminds me of someone was really taken on Kant at one point, because Kant had the whole, categorical imperative, basically the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would wish to be done unto you. And so they're like, what if you like to be whipped? What is that like? So just, yeah, like, we don't mind being slaves. We actually quite enjoy it. Okay. I don't know what to do with that.
When the guard shows up and they're like, Carter Daddy. And you're like, oh, that's actually my name, but it's pronounced Daddy.
Ah, yes! Now that was what you thought it was. That's so awkwardly brilliant.
But before we go, because we can't just keep pulling off quotes, I am going to pull off one more quote. And it's not from this movie, though, because my favorite line from all of the abridged stuff in Dragon Ball that they've done is still from the first Cooler movie, where Cooler's like, someone better grab that phone, because I fucking called it!
Oh god, that was a good one.
That was so good.
Alright. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Until then, I'm a victim of circumstance.
And I'm the Exile.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.